College football seasons are football seasons in general, long, winding road. You can find yourself in a lightning storm, dominating, a team in Raleigh, and then yada, yada, yada. You get to the end of the season. You're both in the same place with the same record, right near each other in the college football playoff rankings. That's not what we're here to talk about, Notre Dame and NC State, of course. What we're here to talk about, that's how this jersey got back there. It says Brinson sucks, signed by Brady Quinn. Just lovely. It's like my favorite piece of sports memorabilia. Instead, we're here to talk about the number 4 and the number 5 spots in the college football playoff rankings. I am curious. I know this is a NFL show, but you guys play college football. Obviously, I love college football. I'm kind of appalled by the idea that Florida State, an undefeated Power 5 conference champion, ran the table, did everything you could possibly ask for, loses their quarterback, and still is not given a chance to compete for a national championship. I'm curious what y'all thought about the decision to put Alabama in and leave Florida State out.
Yeah, I'm going to talk. Go ahead.
I'm going to say, Brady, we both talked about this ad nauseum, but I'll let you go and I'll go after you.
I would just quickly say from the onset, all right, this system was never set up to be fair to all 5 Power 5 conferences. You only have 4 teams. So it starts there. And we then all of a sudden every year want to make a case where there's going to be a fan base that's upset. And this year it happens to be Florida State because it's unprecedented. We've never seen an undefeated Power 5 make it in. And I've said this before, like I feel bad for those players. I feel bad for Jordan Travis because he unfortunately now feels like it's his fault somehow because of when he got injured, which is crazy to think about. Like
I wish I'd broken my leg earlier. That's a crazy statement. That's sad.
Well, and it's sad.
Lost 4 games.
Well, I was just gonna say it's sad. It's not true because if he did, they would have lost more games this year. Like let's be real about it. And that's the unfortunate part for the committee is this is a group of 13 people that's trying to do their best, and they're handed this decision to make where you either leave out Bama, who, may very well go on and win it. They have the second best odds of anyone who's left in it right now. Or you leave out a team that was number 1 all year long, that's won back-to-back national championships. Straight. And yet, they were the best team just a week ago, and now they're not. Now they're not even playing for it. Or you leave out, 13-0 Florida State. So you had a lot of choices as to what you were going to do, and no matter what you did, it was all unprecedented. So there were, of course, going to be ticked off fan bases about it when it was all said and done. So you feel for the players. I just feel like the grandstanding from Danny Cannell and other people with it. It's like, dude, and I put this out. He thinks because a bowl coalition picked them to go to play in a national championship versus Nebraska and they won one, doesn't get over the fact that they leapt over West Virginia. They went by another team that beat them. And yet to him, because you can have multiple people claim national championships, that it doesn't matter. It was a different time. No, dude, learn history. It's always been this way in college.
It's always been this way.
It's always been in that. So that's the general point, all right? Everyone feels bad for you. Go ahead and cry in your umbrella in New York. But the reality is this is where college football's at. We've always had an unperfect system. There's always people left out and upset. And that's the thing that stinks is this year happens to be Florida State, a team that you could make the case they're very deserving of being in.
Yeah, I thought it was baffling that he tried to say that the 93 championship wasn't essentially the same thing when West Virginia, who was undefeated, got left out and he won a ring. And then he doubled down and saying, if they hadn't got boat raced, that they could have claimed the national championship. Well,
last time I checked, Notre Dame beat Florida State and they won the Cotton Bowl.
Yep. Exactly. Should they claim part of the championship? And perfect example, people make fun of UCF for claiming it in 2017. Like, where was the outrage when they went undefeated 2 years in a row, right? Like UCF walked so Cincinnati could run to the Final Four. But getting to the point, right? I thought the committee got it right? Because it even says in the bylaws, it's not the most deserving, right? It's the 4 best teams. And what I really love how everybody was arguing, saying how Alabama, barely beat a Auburn team. It took 4th and 31 to beat them in a rival game, right? Let's not forget that. People tend to forget that New Mexico State went to the conference championship game. Like, they weren't a terrible team. Now, again, they boat raced Auburn, but this was a good team. And another thing that really pisses me off, Brady, is that people tend to forget, did Graham Mertz play in that rival game versus Florida State? Oh, but why is nobody bringing that up? They know that Florida isn't bowl eligible, right? So you barely beat a team with its backup quarterback, with your backup that isn't even bowl eligible. but yet you have the audacity to talk about Alabama on the road, barely beating an Auburn team that is bowl eligible just because they lost to a team that went to a conference championship game. Like, make it make sense to me. You can put whatever narrative you want to fit, but I honestly believe the committee did get it right. Now, I'm gutted for Florida State, right, Brady? Because us as players, we're always taught, if you go out there and win every game, you have an opportunity to play for a championship game. But that's actually not true, and it's never been true. To your point, even going back to when it was the BCS and, there was a committee picking teams, it was never always the best two teams played, right? There's a couple of years where two teams share a national title. So that was never the truth, right? Sometimes it's just
2017, for instance.
Correct. You know what I'm saying? So, like, to me, the committee got it right because if you look at the four teams that are in it, I would say most people that actually follow the game of college football would say those were probably the four best teams going forward, especially because even though Alabama and Georgia game was close, if you watch the film, it really wasn't close, right? I think Alabama controlled that game for most of the game. And to your point, Brady, for 2 years straight, that was the number one team in football, 29 straight wins, right? And Alabama beat them soundly, even though the score isn't indicative of that. So, and Alabama, like you said, have the second best odds to win this thing. I think the committee got it right. Am I gutted for Florida State? Yes, because as a player, if I was in that locker room, I'd be gutted. But like I said, it happened to UCF 2 years in a row, 17 and 18. And matter of fact, in the 17 year, the two teams that met in the national championship game, Georgia, Alabama, you know who beat both of them? Auburn. You know who they lost to in the bowl game? UCF. So cry me a river.
All right, let's get to the NFL's version of the college football playoff. You guys are like, we've talked ad nauseum about this, and now allow us to pull out our blowtorches on Danny Cannell first. But if you were picking an NFL style, and we did this for the site, and it turned into quite the email thread. Some weird responses on there. I think everybody's putting the 49ers in, right? Is that fair? 49ers are like Michigan.
Number one seed.
They're Michigan. They had a former Michigan coach there. They've had some trauma in the past, right?
Oh, God, the Harbaugh era in
Ronnie
San Francisco,
Bell.
By the way, that was just what an incredible time to be alive as a football fan. Like Harbaugh losing his mind with Jim Schwartz. Oh God, I love the Harbaugh era. Who is Washington? Is it the Eagles right now? I think.
Yeah, I see the Eagles like
so.
a team flying high, if you will.
Correct. They would be the number 2 seed for me.
Yeah, it's like nobody's questioning putting the Eagles or the 49ers in. And then I think Texas is probably the Ravens.
I think
I got them as the Dolphins.
I got it as Dallas because, they're both the state of Texas.
You picked Dallas to win it,
and
though.
On top of it, it's like, is Texas back? It's like, is Dallas back?
Oh, I like that.
You don't say like you kind of have that narrative that runs with it.
Okay, so you got Dallas in easily as a third team.
Yeah, but it's again like the whole premise of like is.
Oh, you're comparing the teams. You're not.
Yeah, like I'm trying to make the case here.
Okay, I like that. That's more fun. Yeah. I think Baltimore's got to be the fourth team in then. Right?
I have Baltimore as my fourth team.
No, that's where you guys are wrong.
So the Ravens are Florida State?
Baltimore's Florida. No, no. Baltimore is Georgia.
Georgia, you got them as a 16,
and it makes it in every single time. But they're getting left out, unfortunately, because of just some of the losses. It's Kansas City who makes it as the 4th seed because they're Bama, right? They're always in the AFC Championship game, a couple of Super Bowls. I know, but the reality is
that's who I had as my 4th seed. Because here's the thing: you put all right, if you're Michigan, you're Jim Harbaugh, and you give Jim Harbaugh you dump a bunch of True Serum and some whole milk, and you have him chug it, and he drinks it, and say, "Hey, Jim." Who do you not want to play? He's like Nick Saban, dude. Of course.
Perfect example. When they were showing Michigan live and they showed the 4th seed, a lot of them were like, "Oh, they know what it is." They know what it is.
If you read the excerpts from Boo Corrigan too, and talking about how they came to that decision, they're like, "Well, we kind of took on the perspective of a coach, like who would you want to play, who would you not want to play?"
Yes,
exactly.
And that I think speaks to that. So in this case,
if you're because Florida State is a 14-point underdog to Georgia in the Orange Bowl. Michigan would be a massive favorite.
Oh, for Florida State, it wouldn't even be close.
Right. And if you're Michigan, you're praying that Florida State got in there, even though they've got a good defense. You know you can shut down their offense. Right, exactly. And I think the Chiefs are
By the way, my team that ends up getting left out too, that's Florida State, is Miami. Saints
Yes, mine
State.
too. Mine too. Yeah.
And then you have this team that, they've been flying high, been high-powered offense.
Haven't beaten anybody. Welcome to the ACC.
Exactly. It's a very fair comparison to that. So.